So let me know, and I'll let you know how things turn out in April. Let's be real, it's gonna be way later than that. It takes me forever to make videos. Last October, I did a little experiment to stop eating meat for 6 months. I then uploaded a video about it in December. It took me 2 months to do because of who I am as a person. But now that I've had 6 months of no meat, followed by 6 months of no particular restrictions, what have I learned and how have I changed? Well, great question, me. The long and short of it is that I do, in fact, eat more vegetables and less meat now. I think a big part of my diet was decided not by what I wanted to eat, but more by what I had always eaten. Habit was a much larger factor in this than I'd realized. Quick advice? First up, you can just add vegetables to most meals with little impact on the overall flavor, but like a huge addition in nutrients. If you watched my Popeye video last month, then you already know that spinach is genuinely really good for you. And you can just throw it into most pasta sauces and it'll usually have either no impact on the overall flavor or a genuinely positive one. I also took to eating spinach as like just a straight snack. The Popeye branded spinach comes with recipes on the back of the bag, and one of them is just microwave some spinach and with water for a little bit. And I thought, well, that sounds gross. Let's try it. And I actually ended up eating a lot of that, and I still do. I mean, like, it's not the best tasting thing in the world, but it's quick, it's easy, and it's healthy. I don't know, it's not food, okay? It's medicine. Sometimes things are just medicine and you have to take it, okay? It's good for you. And I always feel a lot better after eating it, so it's doing something, right? But if you're looking for something that's actually good, though it requires more prep, I recommend squash. Like, I think squash is actually my favorite snack now. I'm not much of a cook, but a little bit of squash with like some salt and pepper, MSG, about 30 minutes at 400 degrees usually works out pretty well. And don't cut off the rind. That's nature's plate. I also tried a series of various meat substitutes, some of which you can see in last year's Thanksgiving video. And like, some are okay, some are bad, some are good. But overall, I honestly thought that most meat substitutes are better when they're not pretending to be meat. Like, I started getting excited whenever we'd go out somewhere and they'd have a black bean burger instead of a fake meat veggie burger. Like, with most fake meat burgers, you're just spending the whole time comparing the experience to meat and going like, I don't know, this is just meat but worse. There are some really good fake meats out there, but I don't know, usually I found it easier to just have something that's totally its own. I mean, black bean burgers are actually really good just as a unique food item, mostly because you're not spending the whole time comparing them to a different food. You're only comparing them to other black bean burgers. There is still a place for fake meat though, and that place is fast food. Because, like, let's be real, most fast food meat doesn't really taste much like meat in the first place. So replacing it with a meat substitute is like, in most cases, basically the same experience. However, your real best friend in fast food is Taco Bell. There's not a single item on the Taco Bell menu where you can't substitute beans instead of meat. There's even a little variety in the vegetarian options because they offer both black beans and refried beans as options. And like, everyone's different, but personally, I think the general best way to decide on what beans to use is that crunchy things like crunch wraps, hard shell tacos, those are better with black beans, and the soft tacos and burritos and soft non-crunchy things are better with the refried. One thing I kept noticing as I went through this was that I felt the need to constantly prove to other people that I wasn't going to be trouble. Like, I was just reassuring people all the time that I wouldn't be a hassle, we can go anywhere, I can find something no matter where we go, I'll bring my own food if I have to, this is something that's only going to be a problem for me, don't you worry. And it's kind of weird that I felt like I had to do that, right? Like, I was making a personal choice about my body and my health habits, yet I felt the need to reassure everyone else that I wasn't going to be annoying about it. If I were changing a different element, like if I were going out for a walk every evening, I wouldn't say, hey, I'm going out for my evening walk, but don't worry, I'm not going to make this my whole personality. But I don't know, something about not eating meat can really shift the tone of a conversation really quickly. I have a lot of friends who do stand-up, so I go out and support them fairly often. I pay upwards of $30 for a cocktail and flatbread pizza, I laugh loudly at their entire act, and I am proud to do so. That is my friend up there. But at every show, there's always at least one act, usually multiple acts, that have a bit about vegans. It's usually a bunch of tired jokes about how annoying they are, or how smug they are, or how they are, I don't know, bad at skateboard tricks, I guess. And if I'm being honest, I don't think a vegan has ever actually been annoying like that, to me personally. I mean, not in person at least. Like, yeah, PETA has some really weird campaigns, like that time they tried to get people to stop saying kill two birds with one stone or whatever. They wanted you to say feed two birds with one scone. Don't feed birds scones. That's bad for them. And there was Joaquin Phoenix's really weird Oscar speech where he tried to ham-fist a bunch of thoughts about milk. But the way that stand-up comedians talk about vegans, you'd think that it's impossible to hold a normal conversation without them spinning it into a whole sermon about how evil it is to murder sea kittens. And I don't know, I've known quite a few vegans, and that's never happened. Ironically, I've dealt with a lot more people complaining about vegans than I have ever dealt with vegans who complain about meat. I mean, in my experience, it's much more likely that they'll try to awkwardly steer a conversation into being about the Magic School Bus reboot. It ended 5 years ago. Its cultural impact was minor at best, okay? I guarantee you, you don't need to have an opinion about this show anymore.
Seatbelts, everyone! Please let this be a normal field trip. With a friend? No way!
And I didn't even go full vegan. I just cut out meat. But like, there was still a very strong pull for me to show that I had no association at all with this fictional version of a particular subgroup that so many people seem to have very negative thoughts about. My best guess as to where this stereotype comes from is that it has less to do with vegans constantly talking about their veganness, and more to do with the fact that food is just constantly relevant. I'm not going to pretend that there aren't some people who are jackasses who ruin it for everyone, but we're all jackasses about something. I mean, I'm a jackass about the way I play Monopoly. If you land on a property that's already owned, but the person who owns that property doesn't catch you and ask for rent before you move off of it next turn, then you don't owe them anything. If they want to own those properties, then it's their responsibility to tend to them. Half the fun is in sneaking around the board. Also, free parking is just a free space. If you have players collect money when they land on free parking, it's just going to make an already long game unnecessarily longer. And if there aren't any houses left, but you can afford to purchase all the houses necessary to upgrade to a hotel, then you can just upgrade straight to a hotel. You just need to be able to make immunity as a bargaining chip when you're making a little houses. Part of the making when you're in jail. That's not even a housing way that you, for example, a fundamental element Scotty Dog should be able to double jump. But that only comes up when I play Monopoly, which is, I don't know, maybe twice a year? We don't talk about food twice a year. We talk about food all the time. When are we going to eat? Where are we going to eat? Will food be provided at this meeting? Think of every celebration ever. Happy birthday, let's eat. Merry Christmas, let's eat. Congrats, grad, let's eat. Happy Mother's Day, we made you breakfast. Happy anniversary, where are you taking her? If we're going to the movies tonight, well, let's get something while we're out. It's just a constant ongoing conversation. And if you have a major dietary restriction, that now casts a shadow over a huge chunk of conversation simply because it has to come up. And I think that there's an added element of vegan and vegetarian eating being voluntary, something that almost anyone could just opt into or out of at any time. Now, I'm not here to tell you that eating animals is bad. We all already know that eating animals is bad, but we do it anyway because we hate change. Like, I started this experiment because I wanted to eat more vegetables, and that did happen. It wasn't really about animal stuff, but, you know, animal stuff still came up. It's kind of an inevitable part of the whole thing. And, look, I'm saying this as someone who does eat meat. We all know that we don't have to do that anymore. We can get a perfectly balanced nutritional intake without eating meat. And we all also know that nearly all of the meat we eat wasn't raised in a particularly ethical or sustainable manner. And if we know that something is both unnecessary and harmful, yet we still do it, what does that say about us? I don't like thinking about that. And it's understandable if you don't want to think about that either. But I think we still should, even though we don't want to. At the very least, you should still admit that meat is from a thing. Years ago, my girlfriend at the time and I would visit her parents, and her mother hated thinking about the fact that beef comes from cows. If her father ever looked over a steak and commented on the fat or the muscle tissue, anything that was really going to remind her that it came from a living thing, her mom would just shut the entire conversation down. She'd just go like, no, I don't want to think about that. I just want to eat it. And that attitude feels weird to me. Like, we're eating a dead cow whether we're thinking about that fact or not. That doesn't just disappear because you're not thinking about it. I guess you could say facts don't care about your feelings. I don't think we need to stop eating meat, but I do think that we need to stop thinking of it like it's an object that we just pulled from the ether. We raised something, we killed it, and now we are consuming it for sustenance. Seems like the least we can do is acknowledge that that's what happened. The current way we produce meat is pretty bad for pretty much everyone involved, like the workers, the animals, the environment, and I'd like to start moving toward a better system. But in order to do that, we need to stop treating meat like it's disposable. If we try to avoid thinking about the fact that this was once a living being, then it suddenly gets much easier to purchase more meat than we need and throw away the extra. It gets easier to forget about meat in the fridge and let it go bad. Just in general, it gets easier for this tool of sustenance to become a product. And I'm not saying that we all have to have our own little farms at homes, but we can still reduce our meat intake. We can treat it as an element of a complex diet rather than the base for every single meal. And at the very least, we can think a little more before we purchase meat products. I find that before I purchase meat, it helps a lot if I ask myself, do I have a plan for this, and will I definitely eat it before it goes bad? And if the answer is anything other than a clear yes, then I just don't buy it. Sometimes I also find myself asking, is this a meal worth killing something over? Like, if Liv wants to make that bomb-ass chicken feta pasta that she makes sometimes, then the answer is yes. That's a good pasta. I would be honored to be in a pasta like that. But for a lot of meals, especially the quick and kinda mindless ones, the answer is no. Like I said earlier, the meat at most fast food places doesn't really taste much like meat anyway. And if we're going to kill and eat something, it should at least taste good. We owe it that much. I really hate the feeling of eating meat that tastes terrible and then going, oh my god, something died for this. Something died. And this is all we got out of it. And a lot of really quick meals don't actually need meat anyway. Also, In-N-Out grilled cheeses slap hard. That's still my go-to order there. I genuinely like them better than the burgers. And I'll die on that hill. Just promise me that if you cook me into a meal afterward, it's something good.